That evening at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., the hall was packed, every seat filled for a ceremony billed as a celebration of national arts. Donald Trump stepped out, spotlights catching his bright blonde hair and confident smile. For the first few minutes, he spoke about culture, about bringing American art back to its golden age, and about personally helping to select the honorees for the Kennedy Center honors. But then, after only a few sentences, the flow of the speech veered away from what anyone expected. Trump abruptly changed tone, moving past the polite platitudes about music and theater, and began talking about grass. He described the feeling of walking on the wonderful turf of the golf courses he had once owned, then connected it to the need to clean up unsightly areas in many cities. And in a single breath, he announced that Washington, D.C. would serve as the model for deploying a rapid response force from the National Guard to other cities across America. The audience stirred. A few exchanged puzzled glances. Wasn't this supposed to be a cultural event? Meanwhile, reporters began scribbling quickly as the speech had shifted into the realm of political and public security messaging. Trump didn't specify which cities might receive troops, but phrases like, "a model for major cities" and "will act immediately when needed" were enough to spark speculation. This message came as the White House had already deployed hundreds of National Guard troops to the Capitol, officially to combat crime, even though official statistics showed crime rates were at a multi-year low. At the same time, a plan worth hundreds of millions of dollars was being readied to maintain rapid reaction units in Alabama and Arizona, forces that could be moved within hours when ordered. The blend of cultural setting and military rhetoric left the hall in an uneasy in-between state. For supporters, it was proof of decisiveness and strong leadership. For critics, it was a worrying image. An arts ceremony transformed into a stage for promoting the militarization of civilian life. And for neutral observers, the dominant feeling was confusion. Did the boundary between art and politics still exist, or had it been erased right there under the bright lights of the Kennedy Center that night? The next morning, the aftershocks from the Kennedy Center event flooded morning newscasts across the United States. Television channels repeatedly aired the clip of Trump shifting abruptly from speaking about the arts to discussing the deployment of National Guard forces, intercut with shots of the puzzled expressions on audience members' faces that night. CNN opened its program by calling it one of the most abrupt subject changes in the history of Kennedy Center speeches. MSNBC emphasized the militarization of the message, warning that it could be a signal of a new domestic security strategy should Trump win re-election. On social media, short clips, trimmed to just a few dozen seconds, highlighted the moment Trump smiled while saying, "We'll do it immediately if needed," about sending troops to cities. The hashtags #TroopsAndTunes and Kennedy Command shot up the trending charts, bringing thousands of polarized comments. Supporters framed it as adaptability. A real leader knows how to connect the arts with security. Critics mocked it. From the symphony orchestra to armored vehicles, only Trump could pull that off. In political circles, reactions were equally split. Hardline Republican lawmakers praised the speech as comprehensive thinking, arguing that both security and culture need strong leadership. But some moderate GOP senators voiced concern that deploying troops into cities could be perceived as executive overreach. Democrats wasted no time issuing press releases stressing a blurring of roles, accusing Trump of using any stage available to push his political and security agenda regardless of context. Outside the U.S., international media leaned into the unusual nature of the event. The Guardian, UK, called it the strangest fusion of art and military in Washington. Le Monde, France, remarked that the Kennedy Center stage last night looked more like a security briefing than an artist's tribute. In Canada, CBC aired a feature comparing this speech to other world leaders using cultural ceremonies to send political messages, but concluded that few do it as directly as Trump. Meanwhile, some arts advocacy groups in the U.S. voiced their disappointment. They argued that the national arts honors should remain separate from politics to preserve their celebratory meaning. On a film industry forum, a veteran director wrote, "We came to the Kennedy Center to hear about art, not to hear a plan for troop deployment." The comment drew thousands of likes, underscoring a growing tension between the arts community and the political world, a tension that Trump's speech seemed to have reignited in full force. Behind the scenes of the campaign, Trump's Kennedy Center speech was instantly classified by both camps as a situation requiring urgent handling. Within 24 hours, the Trump team held an internal meeting and split into two factions. One pushed to let the story fade, avoiding giving the media more material to exploit. The other saw it as a chance to reinforce the image of a strong-handed leader ready to act for national security in any setting. Advisors in the latter group began drafting a series of messages emphasizing that Trump always puts security first, weaving in the angle that he is unafraid to speak the truth, even at a cultural event. Biden's side, by contrast, saw a gift. The campaign's media arm quickly cut a short clip opening with the glittering Kennedy Center stage, then jump cutting to the moment Trump spoke about sending troops into cities, overlaid with subtitles, "From arts to armored vehicles," in just 10 seconds. The video was pushed heavily on TikTok and Instagram, racking up millions of views in swing states. Pro-Democrat super PACs also launched similar TV ads in local markets, hammering the message, "We need a president who knows the difference between a concert and a military order." Reporters following the campaign noted how easily the story spread because of its tone shift, a stage meant to honor artists being used to discuss military deployment. This contrast both piqued curiosity and left many undecided voters puzzled about the candidate's priorities. A veteran political strategist observed, "This is the kind of image a savvy campaign will milk to the fullest because it goes beyond policy debate. It hits people's emotions and imagination." International media added more fuel. Der Spiegel, Germany, wrote that Trump turned the Kennedy Center into a temporary Pentagon, while ABC News, Australia, likened the night to a symphony interrupted by the drums of war. TV channels in Asia and the Middle East, which rarely cover U.S. cultural ceremonies in detail, aired the full clip this time, commenting on the unusual fusion of soft power and hard power. In the arts lobbying world, some organizations began considering an open letter calling for a complete separation of national arts honors from political messaging, fearing this precedent might repeat and strip such events of their cultural purpose. Still, a minority of voices argued that if a leader can connect art with a national vision, that is also a form of creativity, an argument swiftly countered by many artists. Outside the United States, the Kennedy Center meets troop orders incident quickly became a focal point for diplomats and international media. In Brussels, an EU diplomat told Politico this was an example of politics and hard power seeping into every sphere of U.S. public life, voicing concern that injecting military messages into cultural events could widen the gap between Washington and allies who see the arts as an apolitical space. In the Asia-Pacific region, major broadcasters like NHK, Japan, and SBS Australia devoted extended news segments to the moment, replaying Trump's shift from praising artists to issuing hardline declarations and bringing on scholars to comment. Many argued it reflected a trend toward presidentializing every stage, where any occasion becomes a platform to stake out positions regardless of context. Financial markets didn't react dramatically, but some Wall Street analysts noted a cautious mood among investors, especially those in sectors sensitive to foreign policy. One expert remarked, "Each time Trump links a security message to a non-political event, it prompts investors to wonder what other surprise decisions could come in the next term." In the international arts community, responses were mixed. Many artist organizations in Europe and North America issued a joint statement urging Kennedy Center and other cultural stages to remain outside the campaign arena, warning that political encroachment could undermine neutrality, a core value of the arts. Conversely, some artists and event organizers in Latin America saw it as an opportunity to draw global attention, though they admitted such an abrupt shift in theme could be hard to digest for audiences. Despite the Trump camp's efforts to spin the moment as creative cross-domain connection, the episode clearly planted a new perception among both the public and U.S. allies. America's symbolic boundaries are blurring, and this event may stand as a vivid example of an unorthodox leadership style, one supporters hail as strength and critics see as a breach of decorum. In the final days before the election, the Kennedy Center with a troop movement warning saga refused to cool down. Instead, it spilled over into corners of public life no one expected. Campaign teams milked every frame of footage. The Biden camp replayed the clip of Trump pivoting from praising artists to delivering a stern message about security, framing it as proof that a president must know how to separate art from power. The Trump camp flipped the moment into evidence that he speaks plainly, no beating around the bush, and is unafraid to deliver important messages anywhere. On social media, an avalanche of remixes emerged, from comedy edits inserting military drum rolls into the middle of the symphony, to memes comparing the incident to an Oscar ceremony where the host suddenly launches into a campaign speech. Hashtags like Dauerweiter from Symphony to Security and Dauer Trump Center trended, reflecting both the intrigue and the debate the moment sparked. In swing states like Pennsylvania and Arizona, small polls showed a split among undecided voters. Some shrugged it off as classic Trump style, while others worried it revealed a lack of message discipline in settings demanding focus and decorum. Media analysts said the episode, regardless of its lack of direct policy or economic impact, was becoming a key image of the campaign season, a moment that will stick in voters' minds longer than lengthy speeches on policy. It had all the hallmarks of viral political theater: surprise, a sharp tonal shift, and the potential for both sides to spin it to their advantage. As the race entered its final stretch, no one knew whether Kennedy Center and the security message would serve as a boost to Trump's image of decisiveness, or as another breach of norms that turned some voters away. What was clear was that it had become a symbolic episode, encapsulating the way Donald Trump bends, or breaks, the boundaries of political discourse in America.